My guest tonight is a true country boy who grew up in a home without running water, but never lost sight of what is possible. After being drafted in the 7th round by the Denver Broncos, Shannon Sharpe would harness his strength and discipline to redefine the position of tight end. He's an 8-time Pro Bowler, has over 800 career receptions, and is a 3-time Super Bowl champion. But before he became a Pro Football Hall of Famer, did you know he caught chickens for extra money as a kid, was a high school state champion in the triple jump, was originally drafted as a wide receiver? Tonight, we'll learn what makes this undeniable icon who he is. A man who once said, "When people told me I'd never make it, I'd listen to the one person who said I could, me." Please welcome the pride of Glenville, Georgia, Shannon Sharpe.
Thank you. Joe. All right, thank you.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Thanks for being here. It's good to walk out to a standing ovation.
It is. Thanks for having me.
Your story is absolutely incredible. It's hard for me to sit across from somebody and say, man, you really had not much as a kid, but that is truly where you came from, right?
It really is, but it was something that you didn't dwell on because everybody that I knew, my family members, had a life very similar to mine. So that was all you saw, that was all you knew. I just knew my body was in Glenville, but my mind was 1,000 miles away. I knew that wasn't what I was going to be when I got older.
You were born in 1968 in Chicago, youngest of 3, and not long after that, you're shipped off to Georgia to grow up.
Well, my mom and dad had separated, and in the South, when parents separate, the grandparents take the kids. And my grandmother came and got me when I was 3 months old.
And it's fair to say you did not have a relationship with your father.
It's a long story, but my father died at 39, and all of his brothers, with the exception of one, died before the age of 50. And then on my mom's side, I had an aunt die at 47, and none of my uncles have reached the age of 70. So my grandfather died at like 57, 58. So I think that's why I don't drink, that's why I don't smoke, and I try to maintain it because I know what's stacked against me, that longevity is really not in my family.
Tell me about your grandma, Mary Porter. I mean, this was an absolute saint walking the earth. I mean, what a wonderful, strong woman.
I don't know if I'll ever love a woman the way I loved her. As I said, she came and got me at 3 months. I slept with my grandmother in the very bed that she slept in until I was 15. I did not get out of the bed with her until my brother went to college. And so my grandfather, because my brother and my grandfather slept together, and when my grandfather passed, I was like, I'm staying in the bed with my grandmother.
Was he put his arm around you kind of a man? Was he an I love you boys kind of a guy? Or?
No, not really. You got a roof over your head? You got food in your stomach? I love you.
That's how he showed it.
That was his thought process. I don't remember my grandmother saying, but I just remember her doing. See, and that's kind of how I am, and I kind of fell into that trap, and I think that's what happened to a lot of my relationships as we go down the road, is that I'm a doer. And if I do something, I'm showing you that I love you, even though I'm not telling you. And some people are more verbal, they need to hear it. And, you know, my grandfather and them, what they were doing for me, you came and you raised your 9 kids and you took my mom's 3. You absolutely love me. You make sure I have clothes on my back, I got food on my stomach. Yeah, the roof leaks, but I know you love me.
Your brother, who I've gotten to know also, is one of the coolest, toughest, smartest, most driven people I've ever been around. So it's no coincidence that so were you. I know how close you were. Can you? That relationship with your brother was so special from an early age.
It really is, Joe, but it's almost like he's like my dad. We're 3 years apart and we're best friends, but I didn't view him as my brother. I looked at him as like my father because my grandfather died, I was 8. My dad died, like I said, I was 13. And so really the most dominant male figure in my life was him. Joe, I'm gonna tell you the story, and this is how I knew my brother loved me. My brother loved me. We wake up one Saturday morning, cartoons, back then cartoons only came on Saturday. And we only had milk, enough milk for one bowl of cereal. And my brother got up first, because normally whoever got up first, that's who ate the cereal. My brother ate the cereal, but he didn't drink the milk, because he knew if he drank the milk, I wouldn't have any cereal. So he left the milk. He ate the cereal, left the milk so I could have some. And that's when it really dawned on me. I was about 8 years old. I was like, yeah, that ain't no brother stuff. That's something a parent would do for a child.
Can you describe the home? I mean, it was humble. Let's put a good word to it, humble, but no running water, not a lot of food on the table.
Cinder block, cement floors, no paneling, no indoor plumbing, no running water. It was me, my brother, my sister. My sister had a special needs child, my 3 aunts, and my grandfather. Okay, my grandfather died, so sometimes it's anywhere between 7 to 10 of us. My grandmother's making $197
in that house.
In that house, my grandmother is making $197 every 2 weeks.
So you went to the woods. That's where you went to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Middle of the night.
Middle of the night, middle of the day, or whenever you had to go. That's where you had to go. I did not take a shower until I went to 4-H. Well, I went to 4-H camp, I think in about the 4th or the 5th grade. That was the first time I took a shower. And I remember going and not knowing how to turn it on. So, I'm like, man. And I'm like, how can I play this? How can I play this off? And I was like, man, I don't think these showers work. And then one of the guys came in and said, well, you got to turn it like this. I just knew, it was like, I know all my family lived like that. My cousins and aunts, they didn't have indoor plumbing either. And when I tell people that, people looking at me like, but you're not that old. Yeah, I didn't have indoor plumbing until 1988, when my brother went into the league. So from 68 to 88, to the woods I went.
You and Sterling used to catch chickens, and I can't believe the ratio of number of chickens caught to money paid to the Sharpe brothers to kind of wrangle these chickens. Talk us through that.
Well, we worked into tobacco fields. So we worked from 7 to 7 with an hour for lunch, and we'd eat lunch, and my brother and I and my cousins, we'd go play basketball. So we'd take us about 5-10 minutes to eat, and then we'd spend the next 30-40 minutes playing basketball until the guy would come back, and we'd get on the truck and we'd go back out there till like 6 or 7 o'clock that evening. And then about 8:30, my uncle would come pick us up, and we would go probably like 30, 40 miles was probably the farthest we would go, and we would catch chickens. And you got paid $1 a thousand. So you caught it, so it'd be 8,000 to 16,000, 20,000 chickens between these two.
A night?
Yeah.
You're catching 8,000 chickens?
20,000 was the most we caught, yeah.
Which gave you $20.
Yeah. But plus the $10 to $15 that we made, so that was $45 a day. That was good money, but you were working, anywhere between 16, 18 hours a day. And even though you're in school, I was still catching chickens. My brother and I was catching chickens and getting up to go to school. So we get home probably 3:30, 4 o'clock, and we get right back up and go to school the next day at 7.
Is it fair to say that you always knew down in your soul that you were going to be somebody? I mean, at the age of 12, you promised your grandmother you were going to buy her a house.
Yeah.
And those are big dreams for somebody who didn't have much.
Joe, I only wanted to be 2 things in all my life. I wanted to be a professional athlete. I wanted to be a lawyer. But I knew that would take me longer to make money doing that than it would be a professional athlete. And God gave me ability. I worked on a farm. I had muscles from the time I can remember. I think I was like 6 or 7 years old, and kids would look at me and like, he got muscles. And I did.
Well, you worked so hard.
I did. But I was driven, Joe. I had to. I didn't. And then I was in high school, and I said, Grant, I'm gonna make some money. I was 12 or 13. I said, Grant, I'm gonna have some money one day. What you want? Because she always called me. She called me baby. She never called me my name. She called me baby. She called me son. She called me boy. I said, Grant, what you want me to buy you? I said, you buy your car and teach you how to drive? She said, nah, son, I don't want no car. I said, well, Granny, what you want? She said, son, I want a decent house. I could lay on my bed in my grandmother's bed and I could see the sky through the roof because it was a tin roof. I could see. And I'm thinking to myself, my grandmother, she just want to go to bed. Before she died, she said she want to go to bed one night, have it rain, wake up, and not be wet. Man, Joe, I mean, I just don't know. I mean, people don't know how many times I would fall on my knees at night. She would not let me get in the bed without saying my prayers because she was in the front and I'd have to say my prayers and I'd have to cross over her to get in the bed. Joe, I prayed many a nights, high school. The only thing I wanted to do was make my granny proud. That's it. That's.
Well said. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I love when I read that even as a young boy, you used to stand in front of the mirror and practice talking into the mirror.
Yeah. I knew, giving an interview, asking myself tough questions, answering. I knew I was going to be something. I knew I was going to do something in front of the cameras. I knew I was going to be famous. And my grandma and the people used to ask me, say, yeah, I knew that boy, he talked too much not to be able to do something.
Right.
But my calling was to play in the National Football League. My calling was to help get my grandmother out of there. And me and my brother, that was all we talked about. My brother and I, believe it or not, we didn't do a whole lot of talking about girls growing up. We're 3 years apart. We didn't do a whole lot of talking about girls. Man, what you gonna do when you get some money? Yeah, Granny, you think Granny wanna come live with us? No, she ain't gonna leave Glenville, but that was our thought process.
You got the chance to play with your brother, Sterling.
Yeah.
He was a senior in high school. You were a freshman.
Yes. I was his backup.
You were his backup?
I was his backup. I always wanted to be like my brother, so whatever number he chose, I chose. He was 3, I got number 3. He was number 2 in college, I got number 2 in college. He was 84, I was 84. And I played all the positions that he played because I wanted to be like him. You know, I played quarterback, I played running back, linebacker, receiver. But it was my senior year, I was like, you know what? I don't want to be a quarterback. I want to be a tight end.
What was it about tight end? I would think you'd want to be split out and run. And, I mean, tight end involves blocking, too.
But Ozzie Newsome and Kelly Winslow were tight ends. So
Right.
those are the guys I wanted to be like. And so I got moved to tight end. I had a lot of scholarship offers, but Prop 48, and I tell people all the time, I say, with my grades, I couldn't have got in prison.
Your grades were bad enough to keep you out of South Carolina, which is where your brother Sterling
Correct. But them grades were bad, Joe. I look back, I was like, dang. I need a crane to pull my grades up.
Which you attacked once you got to Savannah State, but this is Division I AA.
It was Division II at the time.
So, okay, so we're talking about if you're good enough, they'll find you, but man, they're gonna have to really look.
They're gonna have to look, yeah. I remember stepping on Savannah State campus in 1986, and the very first thing I told them at that first day of practice, I said, I'm going to the NFL. And everybody looked at me like I was crazy. But Joe, we had probably 110 guys. We lined up 5 yards apart from one end zone to the other. And Coach Davis said, guys, I only got like 55 to 60 uniforms. He said, I got to trim the fat, though. So we ran before we ever practiced. I'm talking about we ran. You ought to heard the Foot Locker slamming and the cars cranking up, guys leaving. I ain't going. I said, this is nothing. I said, you think this? I was like, I'm only out here 3 hours a day. Yes, 100 degrees, but I work for 12 hours in 100 degrees. This is nothing. And that next day, you had like 85, then 75, then 60, then 55, and that's what we went with. But
so if you could survive the running and the physical side of it, he was going to keep you, and these guys basically weeded themselves out.
Exactly. I almost transferred to the University of Miami after my sophomore year.
I was going to say Miami came calling, and our old friend Jimmy Johnson, and he saw Shannon and what Shannon Sharpe could do, but you stayed.
I stayed. Because Coach Davis told me, he said, son, you're good enough to play in the NFL. He didn't say if you're good, they'll find you. And He believed in me. Everybody else, when my grades were bad and no one could get me, wanted to take a chance on me, Coach Davis believed in me, and I felt I owed that to him. And plus, Savannah was only an hour away from my grandmother, and I could get home at any given time to make sure I go see her.
Your senior year, you guys go 8-1.
8-1.
And you're setting records now, yardage records, touchdown records, and you've got to be thinking, okay, now it's time to go to the next level.
Yeah, I remember when the schedule came out, we were going to play Georgia Southern, and Georgia Southern was a power. They were 1AA champ. Eric Russell was their head coach. He was the defensive coordinator for the University of Georgia when they won the national championship with Herschel. And I remember seeing them on the schedule. Circle it. We're going to play them at their building. And that was the time, because everybody's like, well, yeah, he's good. Yeah, he's 1,000 yards and got this. But who's he played against? And I just remember, I said, Georgia Southern. I said, ooh. I said, they don't even know. Now, I got a second cousin that played for Georgia Southern. His grandfather and my grandfather were brothers. And he played for Georgia Southern. And he was in film study, and they were watching. And he told the coaches, he told the defensive coaching staff, he said, if you play my cousin like that, he'll hit you for 200 yards. Well, they played me like that, and I hit him for 202 yards.
Wow.
I did. We lost, and true story, after the end of the game, after the game was over, Eric Russell came to the rest his soul. He came to the center of the field, and he gave me a cigar. He said, son, you're the best athlete I've ever seen.
The opposing
coach. I still have that cigar.
Wait, I don't want to lose that in the applause. You still have the cigar?
I still have the cigar. I'm very sentimental.
What a thrill it must have been for your grandmother to see you play in your final game in college.
My final game.
I mean, I can't imagine you more driven, but if you know your grandma's there, what was that like?
That's the only time she's ever seen me play. Everybody's told her how great I was in high school. And to know my grandmother in the stands one time, because I didn't know if probably she was never going to see me play again. But I just remember walking out on the field because it was senior day and they introduced everybody, and just looking up there and seeing my grandmother in the stands, I was like, that might have been my greatest achievement. And when I came out the field after the game was over, and she'd say, baby, you did good. Man.
Well, you're a 7th-round draft pick of the Denver Broncos. I know that was a disappointment.
Very.
You thought you were higher. Heck, your brother went 7th overall to Green Bay when he got drafted. And now here you are, 7 being the lucky number, but it's round, not overall.
Correct.
I assume, knowing you, the little I do, that was motivation to show every wide receiver and tight end selected before you that you were better than them and those teams made a mistake.
I remember when I got back from the All-Star game, I told my brother, I said, Spank, there ain't a wide receiver or tight end here better than me. I said, them guys are not better than me. Went to the combine, and I ran like a 4.65, 4.66, something like that. I said, bro, they not better than me. I said, they not. I said, I understand they went to Michigan and Notre Dame and all. I said, but they not better than me. I'm better than you. Y'all got drafted before me? How? Why? I mean, I was in shape. I mean, I'm abbed up. I got muscles everywhere. And I'm like, you went before me looking like, ooh.
Plus, you know the NFL game because you've been watching your brother play in the NFL game.
The thing was, Joe, is that I always my favorite superhero was the Incredible Hulk. I always wanted to be big. I wanted to be the Incredible Hulk. I wanted muscles. And so I started lifting. And my brother would always tell me, say, bruh, you're going to lift yourself into a 3-point stance. I'm like, nah, I'm good.
Which means he goes from a skill position to the offensive or defensive line.
But I wanted to be a guy that could bench 400 pounds and squat 600. And he's like, but there are no receivers that can do that. Why do you want to do that? Well, that gave me even more motivation to want to do it because nobody else is doing it. And when Dan Reeves, my rookie year, says all the tight ends got hurt. All the guys got hurt. And everybody's thinking that Dan's going to go out and sign a tight end. Well, the offense is really complicated, and Dan didn't feel like he could, get a tight end up to speed in time. So Dan called me in and said, well, what do you think about playing tight end? My first words out of my mouth, I'm going to get a chance to play. He's like, yeah, but you're going to have to learn. I was like, okay, I'll do it. They moved me to tight end. John's going through I'm on the line of scrimmage. John's going through the play.
Elway.
John Elway. He's going through the plays. I'm like, hold up, time out. What I got again? So obviously I'm having a hard time learning it. So they put me in motion. So every time I go past John Elway, John would tell me what I got. You got to block the end. Blue 17. Block the end. Blue 17.
No way.
Yeah. Run a corner. Run her out. He's telling me the whole game. He told me what I had to do. They put me in motion. I'm dog tired. And I know he's tired because he got 100 things in mind. He got to tell me what I got to do. He got to read the defense. He got to worry about somebody trying to hit him in the back of his head. So we win the game. And so I'm walking up the field, and I can see him walking up that corner of my eye. And he just tells me, say, I think we need to learn the plays next week. Yeah, I say, I think you're right.
Right. But you had a great relationship with John.
Unbelievable.
And there was something there that, I mean, he could have embarrassed you. He could have ripped you in front of the rest of the team.
Could have.
But he needed you.
I don't know what it is about me, but it was just something that he just kind of like, he liked me.
By 1992, you break out. And the world knows how good Shannon Sharpe always knew how good he was, and you become Elway's #1 target.
I did.
There's a relationship there, though, that we can't miss, and that's your relationship with head coach Dan Reeves. He's the guy that called you when you were drafted. He was a player himself. He believed in you like Coach Davis believed in you at Savannah State.
Correct.
And I guarantee, knowing you the way I know you, if somebody believes in you like that, they're golden.
They are. He told me I could be special. He said, you're too big, too fast, too strong not to play this game for a long time.
Then there's pressure there with this great organization that had been to the big game but had not won.
Yeah, it was. It was what happened in 1990 when I got drafted. They had just gotten the brakes beat off them by the 49ers in the Super Bowl 55-10. So I'm thinking, okay, this is a Super Bowl team, so we going back. The next year we go like 5-11 or 6-10. And I'm like, what happened? I thought y'all just went to the Super Bowl. Is it me?
Right.
The next year we go to the AFC Championship game. We lose to Buffalo 10-7. I'm like, okay, we're building something. And then the next year we were really good, but then John got hurt. And then Coach Reeves left at the end of the 92 season. I'm thinking to myself, wow, I just made the Pro Bowl. What if they get somebody in here that doesn't use the tight end? Because still, everybody was still wanted that that tight end that can move people off the ball. Running, bring your running game, play defense. Nobody was thinking about if a tight end caught 25, 30 passes, so be it. And so Wade Phillips, who's the defensive coordinator, got hired, and he brought in Jim Fossil. And one of the things that Wade told him says, tell me what you're going to do with Shannon Sharpe. How are you going to use him? And I became the focal point.
That's how Jim got hired?
Yep.
How he was going to use you?
Yep. Now, the offense is going to be catered to what I do, which was get down the field, find a mismatch, put me outside, linebacker, safety, could beat some corners, and John was going to give me the ball. It was great. It was great. So now people are starting to see. My brother, 100 catch. He had a 100 catch season in '92. Had another 100 catch season, and the crowning achievement is that we're both going to the Pro Bowl.
How cool is that? Man. You two are competitors against each other in the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
I mean, these two Sharpe brothers, one kind of dad and one kind of son, are in Hawaii for the Pro Bowl. That's awesome.
Well, Joe, I was feeling really good about myself, and so I bet my brother $25,000 I'd have more catches than he would.
Wait a minute. Now, times have changed now. There's no more eating possum here. You bet your brother how much?
I bet him $25,000 I'd have more catches than he would.
And your brother's like all pro.
Yeah. I ended up with 81. He ended up with 112. So.
Did you write the check?
No, Joe. I wasn't gonna be able to do that. I wasn't gonna be able to do that. But I had to do something. I had to put some pressure on myself. And look, I know I wasn't going to, I thought I could. I mean, that was John's fault.
Right, yeah.
But I wanted to issue a challenge to him, and I wanted a reason to show up to work, go to work every day with that lunch pail and hard hat, because I had a goal. It wasn't to just, because I wanted to be what he was. He was an all-pro. He was a Pro Bowl player. That's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be an all-pro. And to be on the all-pro team and to be in the Pro Bowl with your brother, not very many people can say that.
So Shanahan comes in. How important is winning a Super Bowl to you?
Well, I felt that's what would separate me from some of the other guys. I had established myself as a preeminent tight end. And when Mike came in, Mike says, I can throw you 100. Shannon, he's like, you can catch 100 balls, no problem, but we're not going to win. He says, I need you to block more and probably worry less about catching passes. He says, now, if you can't do that, we're going to have to find somebody that can. Well, since you put it like that, I think I could do it.
Yeah.
I think that'll be okay with me.
But you were a good fit for that scheme, right?
Yes.
That zone blocking scheme?
Yeah. It didn't require me to try to move a 280-pound man, just do enough to get TD to the line of scrimmage. TD would do the rest. That was my job. And that's the thing that a coach has to do. A coach has to be understanding enough. Some guys you can kick in the butt. Some guys you can pat them on the back. Some guys you can be funny with. But it's your job to understand what you need to do to get each guy to perform at their absolute best. And the really good coaches can do it. And Mike knew what buttons to push. He let us be us. We had fun. But when it came time to work, and if you listen to the film, the cut-ups, or when he's Mike, he'd always say, get them ready, 84. Get them going. That was my job.
He went to you for that.
My job was to strike up the band. I was a drum major. I'm going to get it going. Be it training camp, I'm going to start talking to the defense, get them riled up. That means the offense is going to get riled up because we don't want to get shown up, and they're going to get riled up because they don't want to get shown up. That was my job.
You guys go 13-3.
Yes.
You're going to play against Jacksonville,
yes.
The Jacksonville Jaguars. You guys are heavily favored.
Yes. They're a franchise. They've just been in the league. 95 was their first year in the NFL. So this is their second year of existence.
You've called that the hardest loss of your career. Mm-hmm. It's hard. Is it hard for you to even watch?
Yeah, because there's two plays in that game that cost us the game. That two-point conversion, all I had to do was open up my hips. I tried to body catch the ball. I didn't open up. And we had a 3rd down and 3. We ran a shot across going motion. And John put the ball right on the money, and I catch it. And as I'm bringing it in, my knee pops it out. Winning never feels as good as losing hurts.
But it motivates you.
Man, it drove me. I was on a mission.
All coming off that.
All coming up. I said, no. I said, I want to have a better season. I said, man, Joe.
I feel like you're ready to go right now.
Man, Joe, man, I was on a mission. As a matter of fact, my homeboy, he called me. I said, look here, dude. I say, you got 1 week to come see me. Because I didn't see anybody. Once that time frame, if you didn't come see me in that time frame, that was it. My friends, family, you got 1 week. Come see me. After that, I'm in a tunnel. I'm done.
So Super Bowl 32 arrives. But prior to that, your brother had to retire. Mm-hmm. And your hero, mm-hmm. other than the Incredible Hulk, Sterling had to hang it up. Yeah. That had to crush you.
It did. Man, I remember when he called me and said, man, I don't know. He says, I don't think I'm going to be able to play again. I said, is that what the doctor says? He says, well, I'm going to meet the doctor, and I'll let you know. But I remember his girlfriend at the time, who's now his wife, she called me. She said, Sterling's not going to play again. I'm like, man, you got to realize now, he's in his prime. He's 7 years. I mean, he had just had 108, 112, 94. His last year, 94 catches, 18 touchdowns, over 1,000 yards, and never played another down. And I just remember going to do an interview. And I told him, I said, I'm gonna give my brother the ring. He didn't know. He didn't know I would do that. This is the way I'm gonna say thank you. This is why I'm gonna say, bruh, everything that you've ever done for me. I had a single-minded focus. I was looking straight ahead. I was thinking about all the people in Glenville. My grandmother's watching, 1,000 square foot, cement floors, cinder blocks, tin roof. My brother. So I'm gonna go get this ring for him. I'm gonna go get this ring. I said, we about to get this.
You literally, on your way out of the tunnel, to your big brother Sterling.
I said in the interview like 3 days earlier, this was the only time Mike Shanahan, the head coach, he said, Shannon, we're gonna kick their ass, but let's make them think that they're gonna win, so don't say anything crazy. Like, boom, man. Like, man, you know I gotta talk this thing up. I'm like, okay. I said, yeah, oh man, it's gonna be a great game. You know, they're the defending champs, they got the MVP. We're gonna tell y'all, look, y'all don't even know. We felt that the way you couldn't be right. What do you want to do? You want to play man coverage? Do you really want to put your safeties on me? Or do you want to drop him in the box and stop TD?
Here's Super Bowl 32.
It's almost impossible.
So there it is. But getting that ring and presenting that to your brother, what was that moment like?
I just remember going up to his house, tell him thank you. I'm here because of you. What you see, the player that I am, is because of you. And because you couldn't get one, the only thing that I can do, this is the only thing I can give you, bro. Size of kidney, you don't need that. But the best thing I can give you is this.
You described yourself as the second best trash talker to Muhammad Ali in sports history. I talked to Terrell Davis about it. You're legendary for this stuff, but you could get a defense and particular players so out of their game and so pissed.
You need to be ready to do your job, because I'm ready to do my job. And so however they want to bring it, yeah, I'm going to put pressure on you, because I'm going to start talking early on. I'm going to get them fired up, and if you're not ready to play, somebody's going to get embarrassed. And I'm not getting embarrassed.
Well, one of those offensive linemen, I'm just making me think of what Terrell Davis said. He's talked about Mark Schlereth, and he said at one point something like, hey, Shannon, will you shut up?
Yeah.
Oh, I got to block these guys. You're pissing off everybody, and they're coming at me. They're not coming at you.
I don't know why, but the defensive backs and the safety, they wouldn't talk to me. It was always the defensive lineman.
Right.
And so, well, oh, you want to talk? Okay, well, I get on you. I call them fat. It didn't matter to me. And they would just be teeing off on Stink them. And they would go
Stink is Schlereth.
That's his nickname. But it got TD 2,000 yards because they were ready to play that year.
Oh, they were ready, and TD got that done.
Oh, man.
He became the fourth guy to ever rush for over 2,000 yards, but we talked about the Super Bowl in '97. Now you guys are going back in '98. But of all teams, the Atlanta Falcons, and of all head coaches, Dan Reeves, the one who drafted you, the one who believed in you, the one who, had your back.
Yep.
And now you're going against him in the biggest game in the world. What was that like?
It was tough because I know he wasn't going to win. So that was really tough because we had played them in '97 in Atlanta, and we ended up winning that ball game. But we just knew from a defensive standpoint, we were loaded. We had like 3 Pro Bowl offensive linemen. I was in the Pro Bowl. John was in the Pro Bowl. TD was in the Pro Bowl. Neil Smith was in the Pro Bowl. Atwater was in the Pro Bowl. I mean, we were loaded.
Let's take a look at Super Bowl 33.
And not a lot of people know the feeling that the Denver Broncos have at this moment.
So now you've gone back-to-back.
Well, Mike told us if you want to be remembered for being special, you needed to back it up. There have been a lot of teams that's won 1 in a row. But we felt we were special. We wanted to be remembered as special because so few teams had actually done it. TD had rushed for 2,000 yards, but if you look at some of the games, he didn't play after the half. He didn't play in the third quarter. So theoretically, he could have easily had, 2,400 yards, but at what expense? Because at the end of the day, our goal was not to get TD 2,000. Our goal was to get back into and win the Super Bowl.
But it was nice getting TD 2,000.
Well, add that to my resume, too. I blocked for 2,000-yard rush.
That's right. So I think of you as a Denver Bronco. But in 2000, you end up with the Baltimore Ravens. They needed a playmaker. You were their guy. That's a big switch. That's a big life change for you going.
Yeah, because I thought I would finish my career in Denver. I was going to be one of these guys that play all of his career at one locale. It didn't work out like that. I was getting up there in age. I had broke my collarbone 4 games into the '99 season. And I think Mike thought, well, he's not going to be that same. He can't be that same guy. And I think he undervalued about all the things that I did that wasn't necessarily on the field. The way I got the guys to practice, the way I had the guys in meeting rooms.
They kind of had to answer to you, didn't they?
Yeah, I was the gatekeeper. So, and I think he took that for granted. And the Ravens, I remember meeting Ozzie Newsome, who's the general manager. He was then
one of the all-time great tight ends himself.
In the Hall of Fame. And I remember meeting him, and he says, I want you to be the Shannon you were in Denver. Now, I done heard about you. He said, I know you talk a lot, and I don't come in and be quiet. I want you to be that guy. Okay.
But that's not easy going to a new place. You were able to talk in Denver because you had a body of work there and you knew all the guys.
Right.
Now you got to go to Baltimore. You don't know the personalities. And as you said, there are some guys you get in their face, they might go into a shell.
For me, I needed to show up and let them see how I worked. Bringing my own food, the way I ate, the way I trained, the way I did things, very meticulous and very methodical in my approach. And then everybody got an opportunity to see this is what it takes to be a champion.
How good is this play, by the way? You're backed up, the 2000 AFC Championship game against the Oakland Raiders. So there you go.
First of all, I don't know why, with that down and distance on that area of the field.
What was it, 3rd and 17?
It was 3rd and 18.
3rd and 18.
Backed up. All we were trying to do was get like 4 yards so the punter could have his actual 13 yards from the center to the punter to punt the ball. That's all we were trying to do. We were just trying to get like 3 or 4 yards. Why would you ever on 3rd and 19 come with a blitz? Ray Lewis came to me, like, shit, we going to the Super Bowl. I'm like, dude, this is the second quarter. What you talking about? Like, they're not going to score. They gave up 3 points in that game. They gave up 3 points in the wild card game against Denver. They gave up 10 to the Tennessee Titans. That defense didn't give up a point in the Super Bowl. They got that on the kick return. So in 4 games, the defense gave up 16 points.
That's incredible. So you win Super Bowl 35. Now you've got 3 rings. I assume you kept the second 2.
Yes.
I noticed, like many people I know who have won Super Bowl rings and who I work with, you don't wear them.
Well, if you have 1, you wear it. When you got 3, they know.
We have this quote on the wall. When people told me I'd never make it, I listened to the one person who said I could, me.
Yeah.
What does that quote mean to you?
I've always had the utmost confidence in me. Everybody told me I wasn't going to make it, Yeah, I was good at Pee-wee sports. They're like, yeah, but when you get to high school, I was good in high school sports. They said, yeah, but when you get to college, I got to college, they said, yeah, once you get to the NFL, they said, yeah, when you're in the NFL, they say, well, wait till you get to the Hall of Fame, you won't be the best player in the Hall of Fame. I said, okay, I'll settle for that.
Right.
But for me, Joe, it's always been, I knew. There was really, honestly, I never doubted for 1 second, Joe, I wouldn't make it to the NFL. I was focused on football. And the quickest way to make a lot of money, I thought was football. The quickest way to get my grandmother out of that situation was football. The quickest way for my grandmother to kick her heels up and not have to worry about anything, and she could fish all day if that's what she wanted to do, was football. And that's
what kind of house did you and Sterling get her?
It was simple, nothing extravagant.
She wouldn't want it.
No. She didn't. She was really simple, and that's why when people ask me would I do it all over again, knowing what I know, to give my grandmother that life, because 66 years she had gone to bed, and if it rained, she got wet. And this, to give her that, Joe, I'd do it all over again. Man, this is what you see. Football is what I did, but that's not who I am. I am Mary Porter. I'm Barney Porter. I'm Sterling Sharpe. I'm Sharon Sharpe. I'm a byproduct of what I saw them do and how they raised me. And I wouldn't change anything about my life. I wouldn't, because it made me who I am. It made me who I am. It made me what I am.
Wow. I love that you retired to Denver Bronco. You went back to Denver, you're breaking all the records and all the individual things, you know, that you were able to accomplish. And in 2011, you get elected to the Hall of Fame. I mean, there wouldn't be a Hall of Fame. You've got to have Shannon Sharpe in the Hall of Fame. And your grandmother is alive to know you're going into the Hall of Fame, but passes away before you get inducted.
A month.
1 month before you're wearing that gold jacket, you lose your grandmother.
I remember calling her after I got the word that I was going in February. And I remember calling and I said, well, she said, hey, baby. I said, hey, Granny. I say, we going to the Hall of Fame. She said, what's that? I say, that's where they put all the good players. She said, oh, that's sure nice, son. That's sure nice. She said, I sure hope I'm around to see it. I said, Granny, you will be. I went down. They were doing a story. Mike Kliss was doing a story on me for the Denver Post. And I went down in June. And I remember my sister called me and said, Shannon, she's gone. I said, for real, Libby? And I hung the phone up. And my girlfriend, Katie, she asked me, she said, what's wrong? I said, Granny passed. I was never the same, and I'm never gonna be the same. A part of me died when she died. Part of me broke when she broke. All my life, I lived my life for one purpose. I wanted to be a good brother. Yeah, I wanted to be a good son. I wanted to be a good partner. And if I were to ever have kids, I wanted to be a great dad. But the thing I wanted most, to be a great all-time great grandson for Mary Porter. The proudest my grandmother gets, or she got, is when people would say, Mary, you did a good job raising them boys. They're so humble. They're so well-mannered. It's yes, ma'am. It's no, ma'am. It's yes, sir, no, sir. That gave my grandmother the greatest enjoyment. My grandmother could have cared less that my brother and I made it to the NFL. My grandmother could have cared less that I'm in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. She cared more that I was a good person. That means more to me than 50 Super Bowls, than 20 gold jackets.
Wow. Well, it's been It's been a life. It's been a career. Well done. I know to some degree when I ask, as I do every guest out here, what's next. I know you're busy every day. I know you're on FS1 and you're debating sports topics, but maybe personally, what's next for you?
Just try every day to be a better person. Try to be the person that my grandmother envisioned I would be. I want people to know that I am what you see. I want the world, I want America to be better than what it is. I know we can be. And maybe that's going to be my focus. Maybe that is to convince America that we can be better. We deserve better. We should be better. And we're going to get there. So.
That would make her proud. All right, we end with this. This is called a U-turn in an interview.
Okay.
They're called fun questions, but this will lighten the mood. Would you rather be able to fly or turn invisible?
Be invisible.
Where would you sneak into? Is your first invisible mission? Would it be Sterling's life, or where would you go?
No, you know what? I would like to be invisible because I want to hear what people say about me when I'm not around.
Okay, fair enough. This is a good question for you. Would you rather go back in time and meet your ancestors, or forward in time and meet your great-grandchildren?
Probably backwards. I want to go backwards.
Go even beyond.
Yeah. Even though I know how troubled those times were, but those were some resilient people. They don't make people like that anymore. If they do, there's very few of them.
Right. Good answer. Ah, man. This is another good one for you. Would you rather lose your cell phone or lose $10,000?
Oh, 10 grand, easy.
Yeah. I knew it. I knew it. You don't want to lose that cell phone.
No. Oh, hold on, let me see. Yeah, I can't lose my cell phone.
Okay.
I can't lose the cell phone.
I'm not going to ask what's on there. I mean, it's a...
No. There's none of that stuff that, you know, somebody hacked my phone. There's like, this dude got like 5,000 pictures of dogs.
Right. Last question of the day. What makes a great tight end?
Imagination. That's what I think was my greatest asset, was my ability to think and to try different things. You know, sometimes it was I went too fast. And John would say, I need you to slow down. I don't need you to be open. I don't have the ball yet, or I'm not ready to throw the ball, or I was too slow. He's like, that's too long. Something bad could happen. So I think imagination, understanding what they're trying to do against you, what they're trying to do to stop you, and unselfishness.
I know I speak on behalf of everybody sitting in this theater.
Thank you.
This has been incredible.
Thank you.
And we thank you for being as honest as you've been. We thank you for being as open, as vulnerable as you've been. And I know I can speak on behalf of this wonderful woman that I never met, Mary Porter, when I say, job well done, my friend.
Thank you.
One of the greatest ever, Shannon Sharpe.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you.